I was the invisible dishwasher until a single plate changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I was scrubbing plates in the back of a bustling diner, surrounded by the clinking of silverware and the sizzling of burgers on the grill. It was a world alive with chaos, yet I felt utterly unseen. My hands were pruny, my back ached, but my heart held a flicker of hope, a tiny ember I kept alive amidst the grease and grime. That day something changed. The air buzzed around me, thick with an electric anticipation. I felt goosebumps run down my arms, a whisper of something about to unfold. And then it happened. A plate slipped from my fingers, as if it had been bewitched. It shattered on the floor, sending crystals of ceramic flying like tiny comets. The noise was deafening. Silence swallowed the diner for a heartbeat. Clients turned, eyebrows raised, glances shot toward the back like arrows. I felt the weight of their stares, a spotlight of judgment on my crushed spirit. I hurried to pick up the pieces, my hands trembling not from fear, but from the awareness that today was different. There was a strange energy crackling in the air. A signal I couldn't grasp yet. The air stank of spilled coffee and disappointment, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this plate was a catalyst, something much larger than my small world on a gray, grimy dishwashing station. And the shadows, I caught a glimpse of Marla, the waitress whose smile never reached her eyes. She had always been kind, but today she hesitated, her hand resting on the counter as if unsure. Did she see something in that broken plate too? The vibration of the moment hung heavy, the diner's everyday noise fading into a distant hum. I needed to know what it meant. Suddenly, the door swung open, bringing in a gust of wind, carrying with it the scent of rain and uncertainty. A figure appeared, drenched and wild-eyed, like a character from a story waiting to unfold. My heart raced as they scanned the room. Then their gaze locked with mine. Who were they? What did they want? A chill ran through me, thrilling and terrifying at once. The world around me blurred, the sounds of clattering plates and chattering customers diminishing to mere background noise. The stranger took a step forward, and in that moment I realized I was standing on the precipice of change. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The figure emerged from the shadows, a storm of emotions swirling within their eyes. Panic, determination, and a glimmer of something I couldn't quite pinpoint. It was as if they were some wild creature that had wandered into the diner, and the broken plate beneath my feet seemed to connect us in ways I couldn't yet fathom. Marla moved with hesitant grace, her curiosity piqued, her waitress apron slightly askew. She seemed to sense the shift in the atmosphere, and for the first time it felt as if the world around us was aware of its own heartbeat. I held my breath, unsure of what to do next, the weight of the moment pressing against my chest. Can I help you? Marla asked, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around us. The stranger's eyes darted around the diner, searching for something they could not find. My heart beat louder as they took another step forward, barely noticing me at all. Instead, their focus landed on the scattered pieces of porcelain, fragile remnants of my anonymity. "I'm looking for someone," the stranger said, their voice raw like a wound that had been opened far too many times. I could swear I felt the tremor in their words echo within me, resonating deeply, yet I had no clue what they were truly seeking. Marla's brow furrowed. "Who are you looking for?" she asked, fear and empathy mingling in her tone. I quickly surveyed the diner. Everyone had resumed their conversations, their lives seemingly unaffected by the drama unfolding in our corner. "I saw a glimpse of them in a dream," the stranger replied, their eyes locked onto mine once more. I felt my cheeks flush, their gaze penetrating, as though they could glimpse into my soul. "I need to find them before it's too late." The weight of their words hung in the air, and I felt the gravity of the moment shift. It was as if my existence had suddenly gained meaning, as if those shattered pieces of my own dreams were scattered before me, begging to be gathered and reformed. But who were they looking for? A fleeting shadow of hope flickered within me, along with a pang of fear. What if the person was me? I stepped forward, my heart racing as I broke the invisible barrier between us. What did you see? I asked, every syllable tinged with both hope and doubt. I had no idea what would unfold, but it felt unbearable to remain silent. Suddenly, the door swung open again, this time revealing a heavy-set man with a jovial smile that filled the space with warmth. He was a regular in the diner, often leaning against the counter and regaling us with tales of his family. He trudged inside like a knight returning home, oblivious to the tension swirling around us. Who broke what? He chuckled, his laughter a balm against the unease, but it grated against the intimate moment unraveling before me. Danny, Marla warned softly, her eyes darting between the man and the stranger. The moment felt frayed, threads of potential weaving in unexpected directions. I wished I could capture the glance we exchanged, the flicker of understanding that passed silently between us without warning. The stranger looked imploringly at me, their wild expression turning desperate. You have to understand, they need you. You're more than just a dishwasher. You're the key. My heart dropped, caught between disbelief and fear. What did they mean? I was invisible, a ghost among the plates and the sizzling grill. No one needed me. I felt the sudden urge to crumble inward, to retreat into the safe confines of my anonymity. But the certainty in their eyes forced me to stand my ground. What if I could change something, step out of the shadows and take hold of my own narrative? The stirring hope began banishing the heavy chains of despair that had long shackled my heart. Just when I thought I might finally gather the courage to speak the truth within me, the stranger turned abruptly and bolted for the back exit, as if a phantom had urged them onward. Wait, I called out, but it was too late. I felt a piece of myself tear away with their sudden departure. The jovial man and Marla exchanged puzzled looks, and I could sense their eyes on me, waiting, questioning. Without knowing it, they had unwittingly turned my world upside down again. Nothing made sense anymore. But in this swirling tempest of unknowns, I felt the stirring of something unquenchably, a resolve rising from the ashes of my despair. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the awkwardness to come before racing after the stranger into the storm that awaited beyond the diner's doors. I was stepping away from the darkness, but what awaited beyond felt even more terrifying. The moment I crossed the threshold, I was met with torrential rain and wind, each drop a reminder of the chaos I was walking into. The heaviness in my heart mirrored the gray sky. I scanned the street, his silhouette barely visible in the distance, but before I could call out again, a loud crash resonated through the stillness, sending a shiver down my spine. I turned to locate the source, and as I did, my heart plummeted. A vehicle skidded unsteadily, tires screeching, barreling toward the diner. Time slowed as the image locked into my mind-a-scene I'd never been a part of but now had a front-row seat to the impending terror. An invisible tether pulled me back, beckoning me to make a choice, but as the honking horn pierced through the storm, the weight of my uncertainty threatened to pull me under. I could only hope that whatever truth the stranger had seen in me was more than just a fleeting vision. Before I could truly comprehend the moment, I had a decision to make. Now or never. I flinched as the vehicle barreled forward, its headlights slicing through the downpour like a beacon of doom. The stranger, their figure nearly swallowed by the torrent, paused only for a brief moment, casting a glance back as if sensing the impending chaos. And then they were gone, a mere shadow disappearing into the storm. Hey! I shouted, abandoning any pretense of hesitation. Adrenaline coursed through me, urging me to move. I tore away from the threshold of the diner, abandoning the warmth of familiarity for the cold embrace of the rain. The realization that I was shedding my role as the invisible dishwasher hit me fiercely. Maybe, just maybe, I mattered enough to act. Before I could close the distance, the vehicle collided with something that sent a jolt of horror through me. A trash can tipped over alongside the diner's structure, spilling refuse across the sidewalk, but I was certain that wasn't the source of the crash. My heart hammered in my chest as I pushed forward, rain drenching me to the bone. To my relief, the stranger had taken cover near the diner's outdoor awning, their frame hunched and agitated. As soon as our eyes locked again, the world around us dimmed, ringing with an urgent silence that drowned out the clamor. Are you okay? I yelled, my voice raw against the onslaught of wind. .2 Don't know. They stammered, as their hands trembled, catching themselves against a wall for support. The vulnerability in their eyes sparked something in me. A connection that thrummed beneath the surface of our fears. I felt something was here for me, but I didn't know it would be danger. I interjected, adrenaline coursing through my veins. You're not alone. We can face it together. Before they could respond, a shout erupted from behind me. Get down! A shout that ripped through the chaos and pierced the fog of confusion. I instinctively threw my body against the strangers, shielding them as a figure emerged. A woman, frantic yet determined, rushed toward us, her features twisted in panic. We need to move now, there's no time. The words were an urgent call to arms, and instinctively, I grasped the stranger's wrist. Come on! I shouted, pulling them along as we darted toward the diner's entrance, but the woman steered us away from there. She was impervious to the storm, dragging us into an alley just as the screeching vehicle turned toward our direction, barreling down on us with a recklessness that seemed kinetic. My heart leapt into my throat. We were not just running from a car, something darker loomed beneath the chaos, and I could feel it in my bones. The faint hairs on the back of my neck rose in warning. What the woman said next only confirmed my dread. They're coming, she gasped, her panicked eyes darting to and fro. You don't understand. They can't find you. Who can't find me? I asked, breathless as reality twisted and shifted. Those who seek you. The ones from the dream, the stranger added, their voice trembling with emotion, confusion bleeding over into fear. They want you and they won't stop. What does that mean? My voice was weak as I spoke, dread bubbling beneath my surface. I don't know, the woman replied, desperation knotted in her words. But we have to get to safety. You're the key, and they'll stop at nothing to have you. And then, as if my own heart had taken a physical shape, a crack demanded attention from my ribcage, a revelation imbued with the weight of dread. The world was shifting, and in that moment I was no longer just a dishwasher. I was something more. But as fear wove inextricably with the hope we'd just clung to, uncertainty crept close as shadows only grow longer with the coming night. Before I could voice my thoughts, another sound assaulted us far louder than the previous crash. A series of footsteps echoed through the alley, heavy and unyielding, accompanied by dark shouts that sent a chill prickling down my spine. Stay close. The woman grabbed my arm with a grip that was a mix of urgency and something sorrowful. They're already here. As we huddled further into the shadows, I caught the look in the stranger's eyes. It was a mingling of fear and an unexpected spark of trust, an unspoken plea that rustled my heart. What should we do? I whispered, my voice wavering, struggling beneath the weight of the moment. With a tense gaze, they responded, whatever it takes to get you out of here. We need a plan. But those footsteps drew closer, echoing through the darkness like the drumbeats of a coming storm. Just as optimism began to nestle into my chest, the realization washed over me thick and suffocating. Hidden circumstances surrounded my existence, far more tangled than I had ever anticipated, and just before a shadow loomed at the mouth of the alley, the truth clawed at my throat. Some walls surround you and others you are born into. In that instant, I felt the fragile foundation of everything I thought I knew crumble around me. I was about to be thrown into a truth far more profound than merely stepping out of the shadows. What if I was not just an invisible dishwasher but something entirely different? Something they were literally searching for. Then time stretched, and an all too familiar voice echoed out of the darkness, sending my pulse racing. Find them. And just as that revelation took hold, I felt their eyes drawing closer. I braced for what lay ahead, caught between two worlds, one familiar, the other blurring with unseen destinies and dangerous truths. The stakes had never been higher. The alley felt like a maw, dark and threatening, swallowing the rain-soaked sounds of the world beyond. My heart raced as the footsteps closed in, rhythmic and menacing, their source obscured by the shifting shadows. There was no escape. The claustrophobic walls pressed in, amplifying my desperation. Listen, the woman whispered, her breath visible in the cold air. We have to divert their attention. There are places they want think to look at. I nodded, though my throat felt tight with dread. My thoughts raced. Was I to be some sort of bait? The stranger's grip on my wrist tightened, their skin cool but reassuring. I sought solace in their presence, despite the encroaching fear that knotted my stomach. Over here, the woman hissed, quickly gesturing to a wooden door barely visible through the sheets of rain. We can hold up in there for a moment. It's our best shot. As we hurried towards the door, I felt the eyes of the shadows probing our every move. Uncertainty constituted the air we breathed, each step echoing with the weight of what felt like a prophecy I had not asked for. Just as we reached the door, a terrifying clarity rippled through me. I was being hunted and not by chance. The moment we ducked inside, I turned to face the stranger. What do you know about them? Why are they looking for me? A flicker of anguish crossed their face, but it was quickly masked by something firmer, an unyielding resolve. They think you hold something important, something that could change everything. We have to figure out what that is and keep you hidden until we do. The room was dimly lit, cluttered with stale artifacts, broken furniture, and remnants of forgotten lives. But as the woman slammed the door shut, slicing through the panic, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Surely, in a crowded city, we wouldn't be found so easily. Why don't you tell me about your dreams? The stranger prompted, their voice steady, cutting through the tension that hung like heavy fog. It was my turn to blink through confusion. Dreams? What are you talking about? Your dreams, they urged patiently. The ones the woman mentioned. They matter. Everything about you, about us, may stem from what you've seen when you sleep. I considered this, fear mingling with curiosity. Visions of silhouettes draped in shadows, eyes that glimmered with intent, flooded back to me. They had felt so real. Yet I had buried them beneath layers of my mundane life, questioning my own sanity. Sometimes I see faces, terrifying figures peering from the darkness, and voices. Then those voices have a meaning, the woman said, her voice a whisper of urgency. They could be the key to understanding why they are after you. And we need to take that into account. The shadows of my past loomed overhead, whispering bitter memories, causing my heart to ache. But in that weight, I found a small thread of resolve. I would not be defined by these shadows. Not anymore. Let me tell you, I started, heart pounding with each confession. Words poured out, a canyon carved from suppressed emotions. I've always felt out of place, like I was meant for more than washing plates. The dreams, they've been both a curse and a calling. I want to know what they mean. But even as I spoke, doubt prickled at the edges of my courage. What if the truth out there was worse than I thought? What if my longing to know only served to deepen my peril? Abruptly, a loud bang reverberated through the door, jolting me from my thoughts. My breath hitched. Fear slithered its way back into the space, filling the gaps where hope had just flickered. The shadows were drawing near, emboldened by the heartbeat of our hiding. Stay quiet, the woman commanded, pressing her finger against her lips in a gesture that burned with intensity. If they get wind that you're here, there will be no escape. The walls suddenly felt alive around us, throbbed with dread and anticipation, a palpitating heartbeat echoing the surge of my anxiety. We pressed against the cold, unforgiving surface, barely able to hear the muffled voices outside. I can hear them, the stranger said, wide-eyed and tense. They're looking for you. We need to come up with a plan. My pulse raced as I felt the weight of their words settle in my chest, a tightness born from knowing that my very existence had triggered something catastrophic. The question gnawed at me. Could I really be the one they were searching for? Was I the key, or merely a pawn in a game far larger than my own life? But amidst the coherence of chaos, a proclamation emerged, a silent promise to fight for every breath, every heartbeat, until the truth unfolded. Just then, a voice cut through the air like a knife, clearer than before and distinct amidst the dark. We know you're in there. You can't hide forever. The world shimmered at the edges, fuzziness clawing at my sanity as disbelief bubbled fiercely. They were too close now. Instinct told me we needed to act, yet time was slipping like grains of sand through my fingers. An icy grip resurfaced around my heart, but alongside it was something else, the piercing clarity of resolve. I would not let them take me without a fight. And then came the realization, a revelation that sent ripples through my very being. I was not merely a victim in this grand tale, but perhaps an architect of my unfolding destiny. The urge to hide had vanished with the storm outside, replaced by the simmering need to confront the shadows that sought to envelop me. Are you ready? I whispered to the stranger, their gaze steady and unyielding in the flickering light. With a faint smile, I readied myself to push open the door. But before I could meet whatever lay beyond, a sudden voice from the darkness caught my attention. Your time is up. Come out now or face the consequences. In that moment, everything around me stilled, teetering on the precipice of revelation and nightmare. The shadows folded deeper into chaos, and I took a breath, feeling the magnitude of what lay ahead. I was no longer just a dishwasher, I was in the heart of the storm, ready to confront the truth that awaited me, no matter how terrifying it might be. And as the final thud against the door echoed back at me, an unsettling realization became clear. I wasn't just running from the darkness, I was about to dive headfirst into it. The door creaked ominously under the pressure of the whispered threats outside. My hand hovered over the knob, cold, slick with the rain that still dripped from my skin. I stole a glance at the stranger beside me, their resolve etched into the dim light. In their eyes I found an unspoken understanding. We were both caught in this web of shadows, and together we might just have a chance on three. I breathed, feeling the weight of the moment coalesce around us. 1, 2. Just as I prepared to push the door open, the thud reverberated again, more insistent this time. "We know you're in there," the voice hissed, a cruel blend of authority and menace that curled around my thoughts. "Come out. We want." Ask again. An unseen force propelled me forward, mingling the desperate need for answers with an equal hunger for liberation. I tightened my grip on the knob, but an inseparable thread of fear rooted me in place. What awaited us beyond the threshold? I was all too aware that some truths were wrapped tightly in darkness, riddled with dangers I could only begin to fathom. In a sudden flash of inspiration, I thought of the dreams the woman had mentioned, dreams that felt like glimpses into another realm. Perhaps they held the key to unlocking a path through this nightmare. What if they can't see us if we're brave enough to face them? I whispered, the words taking shape as a challenge deep within me. She met my gaze, her face hardening with purpose. "Then let's find out if they can handle the truth." Her fingers found the edge of the door, and together we inhaled, bracing ourselves for what lay ahead. With a firm push, I swung the door open. The sudden gust of cold air hissed around us like a living entity, driving the damp into our bones. Before us stood two shadowy figures, their chests heaving with anticipation, eyes glinting like predatory beasts in the dim light. They were here, they had found me. But while they sought to extinguish my light, a flicker of empowerment surged within me. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice stronger than I intended, resonating against the brick walls. The shadows flinched, momentarily caught off guard. "We're the ones who seek the truth," one of the figures stated, stepping forward. Their face was hidden beneath a hood, but the menacing air surrounding them cut through me like a knife. "Your truth or ours?" I snapped, trembling but unyielding. The stranger beside me squeezed my hand, lending weight to my resolve. "You hold nothing but a fading dream," the hooded figure replied, their voice dripping with contempt. "Come quietly and we may show you what's left of your pathetic existence." A smirk played on my lips, igniting something primal and fierce within me. "I'd rather burn than be part of a fading dream," I declared. As the realization of my power washed over me, I felt the dreams swirl in my chest, visions crying for release, demanding to be spoken into existence. Suddenly, a soft light flickered from the stranger beside me. They glanced at me, and in that moment, an understanding passed between us. Whatever they had, whatever strength they held, needed to be unleashed now. "Let's show them," my ally breathed. Their voice unwavering, I stepped forward, propelled by an unfamiliar energy. With a surge of courage, I began to speak the words that had haunted me in the silence of my nights. "I know why you're here. You think you can silence me because you fear what I represent, the awakening of hidden truths. I am more than a dishwashing cog in your machine. I am the spark that challenges your darkness." In response, the figures recoiled, but I could feel the shadows tightening around us, an unseen force pushing back the tide of hope that had surged through my veins. "Silence her," one of them roared, and in that instant, I felt a wave of something cold enveloping me, fear, doubt, or something darker. It threatened to mute my voice, to snuff out the fragile light I had started to kindle. In that heartbeat of turmoil, the stranger surged beside me, illuminating the space with a warmth I hadn't known was possible. "You will not control her. She is our future." The shadows writhed at the strength of our unity, but the dark figures surged forward, their intentions clearer now, more menacing. The weight of their menace pushed against us, and I felt terror bubble within me again. Then came the unexpected. The woman beside me released a sound, a soft melodic note that resonated through the air, a hidden call that seemed to unravel the darkness for a moment. It was a hymn of hope, reverberating with the courage I had long forgotten, shattering the ice around my heart. "Find the light. she shouted, her voice laced with desperation and strength. That in one consuming moment, I grasped the truth. It lay not just within my dreams, but in the connection I had forged with this person beside me. Together we would face the encroaching darkness. But just as I was about to respond, the ground beneath us began to tremble. The walls shuddered, and the oppressive air crackled with electric energy. "You think you can escape?" the hooded figure hissed sinisterly, their eyes narrowing before I could comprehend the shifting atmosphere. A blinding light exploded from behind me, illuminating the alleyway as though the sun had shattered through the storm, illuminating everything in brilliant clarity. The shadows screeched, retreating as if burned by the light, and that is when I sensed something that twisted in my gut, a familiar aura that sent shivers rippling through my spine. "Take her!" the lead figure shouted, desperately shielding their eyes as the light pulsed around us. Suddenly, the ground beneath me shifted further. I lost my footing and gripped onto the stranger, but it was too late. An unexpected force surged forth, yanking me away. "No!" I yelled, my voice shrill with panic. The last thing I saw before the world contorted into a dizzying haze was the stranger reaching out, their face twisted in horror, as if they were being swallowed by the shadows. I felt a tear in the fabric of reality, and then nothing. I was thrust into darkness once more. Only now it felt different, deeper and more all-consuming. I struggled to breathe, to remember the warmth of hope igniting just moments before. The revelation struck me like a fist, metallic and cold. This was just the beginning of my journey. Shadows were merely stitches in the tapestry of light, and some truths were buried so deep, they made for the most dangerous of awakenings, and just before consciousness slipped away, a single thought echoed within me. I wasn't simply running anymore, I was being forged anew. Dimness lay heavy around me, thick as tar, and the silence buzzed with an unsettling energy that seeped into my bones. I struggled to gather my bearings, my mind reeling as I blinked through the echoing void. Where was I? A soft glow pierced the darkness, a gentle pulse like the heartbeat of a distant star guiding me toward something profound. As I moved tentatively through the haze, shards of memory flickered kaleidoscopically. The stranger with their unwavering resolve, the electrical rush of fear, and the disorienting claws of shadow that had reached for me. I grasped at those threads, weaving them into something I could hold onto as if summoned by my fear. A sound rippled through my surroundings, a heartbeat, a constant, throbbing reminder of life. My breath hitched, a whisper of hope amidst the suffocating gloom, and I followed the pulse, hoping it would lead me away from the despair that yanked at my ankles like a living thing. Gradually the haze began to clear, light bending and folding around me, revealing remnants of the world I once knew. It was as if I stood at the edge of a dream, one that hummed with distant laughter and the clink of porcelain. My heart raced as I realized where I was, a place I recognized from my childhood. The back of my family's small cafe. The familiar blue paint on the walls felt warm against the chill of uncertainty. "Mom?" My voice croaked, carrying through the spectral silence, but no response echoed back. I picked my way through the memories, nostalgia fusing with an unease that clawed at my throat. As I approached the kitchen, I half expected to see the flickering stove and the scent of cinnamon lingering in the air, but the space lay dark and cold. Abandoned. A shiver slid down my spine. I reached for the doorframe only to find my fingers grasping at emptiness. This version of my past was a mere echo. Yet the humming persisted, a call unfolding from deep within, an invitation or a dare. Face the dish. The familiar voice of my past resonated in my mind. My mother had always made those words sound sacred, a prayer against the frustrating cycle of life. As overwhelming as the dread was, the pulse beckoned me toward the sink piled high with dusty, neglected plates. Lifting a dish from the grime, I felt a jolting current charge through me. It was as if the world outside was crashing in, and I teetered on the edge of sanity. "It's just a plate," I whispered, but the moment I released it back into the tower of despair, the vibration faded, and then flickers of recollection surged, moments I had forced myself to forget. My mother, kneeling with her apron tied loosely around her waist, her hands working tirelessly as she hummed. The joy on her face was contagious, a kaleidoscope of warmth beneath the flickering lights. Suddenly that warmth shifted, revealing depths of sadness I had buried beneath protective layers. Her disappointment, her wish for me to transcend the mundane and find a career to be proud of. Yet I had let her down, confined by my own reluctance. My throat tightened, and a single tear traced its way down my cheek. "I'm sorry, Mom," I choked, the weight of my choices pressing down on me hard enough that I feared I might break beneath it. But the dish did not respond. Instead, I felt the sudden shifting of dark energy around me, and the shadows began to rear their heads again. They twisted from behind the kitchen door, breath pooling in moments that sliced deep. I was still tethered to the other world, the one with the strangers hunting me for chaos hidden beneath empathy, and I wasn't ready to face whatever they had sent forth. Fighting back against the feeling of being engulfed, I clung to my memories, to the warmth of my mother, determined not to lose my footing. Freedom lay within revelation, and as shadows crept closer, I could feel the weight of all I hadn't yet acknowledged, anchoring me in that moment. In a fit of stubbornness, I gathered the courage that she had imbued in me and reopened that wellspring of love I had stepped away from for too long. "You will not take me," I shouted, tugging my strength upwards as if I could manifest something powerful enough to ward off the darkness, and then from beyond the veil, the figure of the stranger appeared, tethered to me by an invisible thread, their features wild but unmistakably fierce. A shock of recognition filtered through the surrounding chaos, and for the first time, I felt not just their fear but their unwavering belief in the possibility of hope. "I'm here. I won't let you," they began, but the shadows lunged, pulling them into the depths of the gloom. The scream they let out echoed, not just from their lips but rising from deep within me. It was a horrific reminder that the battle I faced was not only against the incarnations of darkness, but also against the shadows of my own past, the guilt, the fear of becoming everything I had repudiated. In that moment, as terror engulfed my senses, a lone thought pierced through the fog. This wasn't just my journey. This was an awakening not only for me but for the stranger who believed in me. We were interwoven, and in understanding one another's truth, we could defy the shadows. "Hold on," I cried as the kitchen erupted in light, the warm glow of memories curving around me like armor. "Together we will not be hidden." The darkness hissed, a raucous denial of our unity. Then the piercing screech of something breaking like glass succumbing to a fault line reverberated, and the light shattered, cascading through the dimness. Unyielding shadow flickered, unable to withstand the truth of kinship jumped between us. But just as it looked like the tide might turn, everything froze. A spark of recognition ignited behind the shadows, that jeering hiss fading as I caught a glimpse of something I never expected, the hooded figure finding clarity in their own fear, their own struggle against an unseen enemy. And then in the dark I saw the face behind the hood, a face I thought I had forgotten, the last person I had ever expected. My heart plummeted. My body turned to ice. "No, it can't be," I gasped, and just as the realization took hold, the world around me imploded, dragging me with it into an abyss of uncertainty, leaving me gasping for truth amidst my dawning dread. The darkness roared, swallowing me whole as I fell deeper into that chasm of uncertainty. The echoes of my mother's cheerful laughter grew distant, fading into the backdrop of chaos as I grappled with the face I had just glimpsed, a face that stirred a storm of confusion and pain within me. "Daniel," I whispered to myself, the name tasting bitter on my tongue. It was a name I hadn't spoken in years, not since the day I made my choice, the choice that left a once bonded friendship splintered and achingly hollow. As if summoned by my memories, an image of us burst forth, vibrant yet haunting. We were two children, carefree and inseparable, the joy of shared secrets and laughter trailing behind us like a long-lost melody. But life had rippled between us, twisting our paths in ways I couldn't imagine. Now, trapped in this swirling void, unable to distinguish what was real and what was a reflection of my own failures, my thoughts spiraled. The stranger, the one who had stepped into this danger with Menno, faded into the background, leaving my heart quietly unraveling at the confrontation. Suddenly, the warmth of hope I had felt, the belief that we could rise together, flickered like a dying flame. Isolation chased after me through the swirling haze, reminding me of my past, my choices, the actions that had caused friendships to dissolve into shadow. But Daniel was once my anchor, the voice of reason within my tumultuous sea of emotions. What had happened to both of us? My breath coming in sharp bursts, I fought against the despair as it threatened to engulf me. Where was he? What had drawn him into this darkness? The veins of uncertainty pulsed violently in my mind, demanding answers that felt just out of reach. And then I sensed Ida's soft vibration beneath my feet, drawing my attention. With trembling hands I pressed lightly against the ground, feeling the pulse of something familiar, something alive. It called to me, a reminder that life still existed amid despair. A flicker of courage sparked deep within my chest. "Daniel!" I shouted into the void, my voice resilient against the shadows. "If you're here, if you can hear me, I'm not afraid to find you." The darkness shifted at my words, reacting to my plea. I felt the pulse amplify, surrounding me in a luminous embrace that carried the warmth of my mother's love. In that moment I grasped that I was not alone, not completely. Though lost to the depths, the connection I held with my past and with the stranger whose sympathy hadn't faded kept the flicker alive from the edge of perception. I felt a brush of energy against my skin, an acknowledgement, perhaps? An unseen force responding to my words? The shadows pulsed threatening, vengeful, and yet I felt Daniel's essence entwined with mine, echoing through the dimness like a resonant chord. Braving the turbulence of emotions coursing through me, I took a step backward, grounding myself in resolve. With every beat of my heart, I could feel the strings of our souls intertwining in this cosmic dance of despair and hope. Drawing in a breath, I felt compelled to confront this darkness, unearthing a resolve I had long buried within, the courage to not just face my past but to rewrite it. "We're in this together, Daniel. We always were." Behind the barrier of darkness, the shadows roared in rage, but an unfamiliar warmth began to break through. The ground beneath me shifted, rippling with light as echoes of choice vibrated in the air. If I could reach him, if I could bridge the chasm between us, I might just uncover the way out of this labyrinth. Anthena's gasp shattered the silence. With renewed fervor, I called his name once more, this time with vulnerability. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I was wrong, I let you go. But I'm here now and I want to face this together. Just come back to me." In that moment of desperation, the shadows seemed to part just enough to reveal a flicker of movement, a silhouette battling against the encroaching darkness. My heart raced as I saw him again, the familiar figure fighting through the shadowy tendrils, reaching desperately towards the light I had summoned. But just as hope began to rise like dawn, a chilling laughter erupted from the shadows. The voice was twisting and familiar, echoing my fears. "You think it's that easy?" it taunted, mocking the fragility of our bond. "You can't face what you've left behind without facing the consequences." Dark tendrils lashed out, reclaiming what glimmer of light we'd unearthed. The warmth of the moment faded, and I was left teetering on the brink of despair once again. Daniel's silhouette nearly obscured by the ravenous gloom. "Hold on!" I screamed as the shadows closed in, their icy fingers grasping at hope with greedy malice. "We've come too far." And as the hollow laughter echoed, I felt the faintest trace of warmth brush against my skin, a spark of recognition igniting a flicker of determination between us, a promise that somehow, despite everything, redemption still lingered just beyond reach. But whether we could grasp it together remained uncertain, as the deep darkness swirled around me once more, trapping me in its chilling embrace. I could feel the walls closing in, suffocating the chance for reunion, reminding me that facing the shadows wouldn't just mean battling outside force, it would require delving deep into the heart of my own fears and regrets. "No," I murmured, raw determination seeping into my bones as I braced myself. "Together or apart, we will fight our way back." And just as I steeled myself against the enveloping night, a blinding flash erupted around me, a shocking revelation ringing clear. Something was shifting. The ground split, dividing the darkness, and through the chasm that formed, a secret long buried beckoned, a mystery demanding to be unveiled. Gripping the edges of possibility, I teetered on the edge of revelation, the faint echo of a truth that might fracture everything I knew. What was that whisper of a memory? A potential path toward the light? Or a trap ready to ensnare me once again? And in the midst of my dread, Daniel's presence lingered, no longer just a ghost from the past, but a beacon guiding me deeper into the unknown fate we had yet to embrace together. The pulsing darkness around me felt alive, a creeping, restless energy that hinted at ancient grievances. I wasn't sure how much time had passed since Daniel resurfaced in my thoughts. Just a moment ago, it seemed, I had faced him in that echoing void, yearning to bridge the chasm between us. Now, with the shadows shifting uneasily, an inexplicable urgency prickled at my skin. "Daniel," I called again, my heart racing as I gripped the pulsating ground. Each breath became a surge of energy, each shout a desperate tether to the world that waited beyond the trench of darkness. "Please, if you can hear me, don't give up." For a heartbeat, silence enveloped me, thick and suffocating. Then, to my astonishment, I felt it. A flicker of warmth pulsed through the ground, like a heartbeat responding to my own. The shadows around me felt momentarily tranquil, as if gathering breath before the storm. I closed my eyes, reaching deeper, willing the connection to become more than just a memory, willing it to be a lifeline. "Daniel," I whispered, each syllable coated in longing. "You don't have to face this alone. I'm here. I'm so sorry for everything. We can figure it out. Together." A faint whisper caressed the air, a ghost of a sound. Together it melded with my heart, echoing even as I fought to make sense of the words. The shadows stirred again, a snarling entity, seeking to break that fragile thread. But amid the chaos, I focused on the warmth, on the promise of his spirit reaching for me. My senses sharpened as I pivoted into the depths of my own regrets. There I felt every shattering moment, every choice that had led me here. With each pulse of warmth beneath my hands, memories rushed through me like a tide, our laughter spilling over as we played soccer in the park, the quiet nights of sharing dreams, the sudden debilitating silence that had eclipsed our friendship. "Daniel, what did I do to drive you away?" I cried, desperation flooding my voice. "What can I do to bring you back?" A tremor in the ground answered me. Trusting the silent language of the universe, I summoned courage from the roots of my longing. "Listen to my heart, Daniel. Still holding your place. When the darkness feels overwhelming, know that you're not forgotten. You're not lost to me." That moment, the ground erupted beneath me. Brilliant light sliced through the choking darkness, illuminating everything with blinding clarity. Hues of gold and azure danced around, wrapping me in an ethereal embrace that felt both foreign and familiar. Just as I began to feel the warmth chasing the shadows away, a piercing shriek sliced through the air, jarring me back into reality. "You don't truly want him back." The voice boomed, laced with venom, pulling me toward the darkness once more. "You only want to erase your mistakes." In that moment of upheaval, clarity flooded over me. How I had wrestled not just with shadows but with a kaleidoscope of my own guilt and self-recrimination. Yet I realized that the darkness, in all its fearsome majesty, was not my sole adversary. The true battle raged within myself. The silence that followed my departure from Daniel echoed louder than any force. Fingers of dread tightened around my heart as I remembered the choices I had made, the reasons I had severed that bond, every misgiving I had harbored that felt heavy as chains now rattling against my conscience. "No," I cried, determination coursing through me. "This was our choice. If he is to fight, I will fight alongside him." In the depths of despair, I felt a light beckoning, a flicker where memories converged with unfulfilled promises. The truth of my actions turned into a form of clarity. "Daniel," I murmured, the weight shifting. The reality of my isolation flooded back. "I may have cut ties, but our histories were tangled. I have to face what I've done, and I need you to help me." As if in response, the wildness of the shadows began to subside, allowing me room to weave the narrative of our past together, not as victims of circumstance, but as players in our own story. A path, however tentative, began to form in the chasm, glowing with the possibility of redemption. And then, just when I thought I could grasp that possibility, a figure emerged, a silhouette carved from darkness, blocking my way. The ethereal beauty of the light began to dim, and I felt my heart sink. Before me stood a manifestation of my doubts and fears, a fretting specter that seemed driven to protect the wounds I had yet to confront. "Are you ready to confront the truth?" it whispered, the voice both achingly familiar and alien. Who are you?" I demanded, fear gripping me as I scrutinized the figure. "You know me better than you think," it crooned, its laughter curdling my blood. "What will you do now that your heart seeks the past? Will you find peace in the shadows, or will you lose yourself entirely?" It felt like I was staring into my soul's reflection, the part of me that had long remained veiled in a shroud of regret and insecurity. The figure seemed to shift, revealing the familiar outline of Daniel, woven with shadows that threatened to consume him whole. "No," I shouted, panic rushing through me. "I won't let you take him." The apparition flickered, morphing between the darkness and Daniel's essence. It held the talisman of my deepest fears, the power to rip our connection apart once more. Just as it reached for me, I understood what it was demanding. Facing it meant accepting everything I had pushed away, the pain, the choices, the heartache of losing the most important person in my life. And yet, beneath that fear lay an unexpected flicker, an understanding that to embrace Daniel meant embracing all of myself. If I could break through these barriers, perhaps we could face the darkness together, and no matter what has kept us apart, I steadied my voice, taking a breath filled with conviction. I will fight for you. For us. The shadows surged with rage around me, but I felt the warmth that had intertwined us surge back, bolder than before. I wasn't just fighting darkness, for Daniele was fighting for the fragments of my own heart that had been scattered along the way. But as the figure loomed closer, I sensed a hidden truth shifting beneath the surface. A sense of foreboding gripped me, as if unveiling a door I wasn't sure was wise to open. The shadows recoiled momentarily, leaving me with a glimpse of what lay beyond, a revelation that whispered promises of discovery and the potential for liberation. And in that clarity, a chilling realization took root. Perhaps I wasn't just facing the path to reclaiming Daniel. Perhaps my battle would unearth answers I wasn't ready to confront. With resolve breaking through the tendrils of darkness, I readied myself for the challenge ahead, feeling Daniel's essence shimmer brighter alongside mine, igniting the courage hidden within the shadows. Together we would illuminate the path that lay ahead. But with that flicker of hope burning brightly, an unsettling question lingered. What truth awaited me in the depths of this uncertainty? What new revelations could alter the foundation of everything I had known? And as the echoes of laughter crescendoed once more, I braced myself for the storm my heart was about to unleash, knowing that only through embracing the turbulent truth could I truly fight for Daniel and, perhaps, for myself. The light flickered and danced around me, its warmth mingling with my fear. I felt as if I were suspended between two worlds. One saturated in darkness, where the specter of my guilt loomed large, and the other a glimmering realm of hope, where Daniel's spirit and my longing intertwined. Yet, uncertainty gnawed at me like an unwelcome visitor, reminding me that the battle was just beginning. The figure that had emerged from the shadows seemed to twist and contort, taking forms that echoed past memories. You cannot escape the truths that linger, it taunted, its voice dripping with disdain. Each choice you made, each moment wasted, it weighs heavy on your soul. Are you truly ready to face that pain? Or will you fall back into complacency? I stood there, heart pounding, desperate to hold on to the fleeting sense of purpose that glimmered like a candle in the dark. I refused to back down. I shouted, though the confidence in my tone masked the tempest swirling within. I want to abandon Daniel again. I won't give in to fear. Fear? The figure tilted its head, a semblance of a mocking grin stretching across its shadowy visage. You've clung to fear like a moth to a flame. Are you prepared to witness the destruction you've caused? To confront not just your past but the lingering shadows within yourself? The shadows writhed at its words, as if eager to engulf me once more in the terrifying echoes of my failures. But then from the depths of that suffocating gloom, a small spark ignited, a memory of a time when Daniel and I laughed till our sides hurt, and when we shared whispered dreams under a tapestry of stars. The warmth of those moments stood in stark contrast to the coldness closing in now. I won't allow you to belittle my memories, I asserted, grounding myself in those fleeting precious instances. Every painful choice was made out of love, even if that love was misguided. I need that truth to unlock a new path. With each word, I felt the essence of my connection with Daniel strengthening, a fragile thread weaving through the fabric of time and regret. But the figure only seemed to grow more agitated, shadows swirling around it like a tempest ready to strike. You think your heart holds enough to reclaim what was lost? You are but a whisper in this chaos. Then I will be the loudest whisper, I declared, drawing strength from a courageous softness within me. If it means battling through every doubt, every shadow, then so be it. I'm not just fighting for Daniel. I'm fighting for the person I want to become. The specter quivered, dimming for a moment before exploding into a whirlwind of darkness. Your past will not forgive you. It simply waits for your failure. As the darkness surged and threatened to overtake me, I felt the pulse of warmth at my feet reminding me of what lay ahead, of the truth I both feared and craved. I took a step forward, even as my instincts screamed to retreat. I may not have all the answers, I admitted, voice firm, but I am willing to expose my heart and bear its heavy truths for Daniel. In an instant, the shadows began to wane, revealing a path faintly illuminated by the warmth of our connection. But just as hope began to solidify, I heard the soft crack of a fragile voice within the ink stains of silence. Why did you leave me? The words felt like ice, shattering my resolve, slicing through layers of illusion I had fought to build. My thoughts raced back to that day, the heart-wrenching moment when I made the decision to step away. I thought I was protecting you, I confessed, the truth spilling from my lips unbidden. Protecting us. The figure of Daniel materialized amidst the shadows but remained cloaked in the parts of him I had lost: hurt, anger, disappointment. Protecting us? He echoed, hurt evident in his gaze. Or were you just afraid of confronting yourself? A biting silence unfurled between us, heavier than the shadows swirling around. In it, I could see the truth that had long been hiding in the recesses of my heart. I was scared, I admitted, quaking with vulnerability. Scared of what I might find, of the parts of myself that I'd left buried. When I ran, I thought I was doing right by you, but I was only running from my own darkness. Daniel stepped forward, still veiled in shadow. Running doesn't erase the past. It only pushes it deeper until it rots, he stated, voice unwavering. You'll have to face what you fear the most if you want to bring me back, to reclaim you. As he spoke, the specter morphed again, growing larger, its haze intertwining with every fragment of regret and fear I had ever harbored. A wave of dread washed over me. But there was the echo of warmth, me memories with Daniel wrapping me in resilience. I will face it, I vowed, peeling back the layers of darkness to confront my truth. I will not shy away from the past any longer. You deserve that honesty, and I owe it to myself. The shadows reacted violently, displaying chaos and confusion. But before I could brace myself, they began to coalesce into a singular form, a terrifying manifestation of everything I had hidden from, every wound I tried to ignore. With fear prickling my skin, I realized that this confrontation would demand more than I had ever been forced to give. In that moment of clarity, I glimpsed the unforeseen truth within the confrontation. This struggle wasn't simply about reclaiming Daniel. It was an internal battle, one that would implicate every facet of my existence, revealing the innermost conflicts that had tormented me all along. And as I steeled myself to confront this burgeoning darkness, I felt Daniel's presence flicker beside me, a glow of endurance amidst my fears. As the chaotic whispers of the past swirled louder, entreating me to fold, an unexpected surge of kindness tugged at my heart. A familiar warmth wrapped around me, whispering reassurance. But amid that flickering warmth, a new question loomed large over my soul. What hidden truths and buried secrets lay at the core of my confrontation? What new revelations awaited us in this labyrinthine darkness, where courage was summoned from the heart, while uncertainties loomed like storm clouds on the horizon? And as the darkness surged once more, pulling me toward the depths of the unknown, I knew that only by fully confronting what was hidden could I fight for Daniel and ultimately, for the future I dared to hope for. The darkness constricted around me like a vice, whispering my fears as I stood on the edge of my own despair. As I strained to face the essence of my regrets, the silhouette of Daniel loomed before me, running deeper than shadows. The air crackled with the weight of memories, each echo of laughter, every shared dream, painted with fondness and lined with sorrow. Why did you leave me? He asked, each word a painful reminder that cut through layers of steel I had built around my heart. There it was, the question I had always evaded, and now it slashed through the silence between us with a brutal honesty. I was afraid, I breathed, sensation unraveling inside me. Afraid of being vulnerable, of confronting my own darkness. It felt easier to walk away than face the truth of who I had become. The shadows swirled, morphing into a whirlpool of my unspoken fears and buried insecurities, a reflection of the reality I had hidden for so long. As Daniel faded slightly into the chaos, I realized the truth coursing through me. Running away had never solved anything. It just brought more shadows I couldn't escape. I had to own my past, if I ever wanted to step into the light of my future. I don't want to lose you again, I uttered, letting the warmth of truth radiate through the impending gloom. You mean too much to me, Daniel. The figure of him flickered, revealing emotion stitched within that frustrated silhouette: hurt, bitterness, and the slightest crack of hope shimmering in the face of adversity. You must face your own darkness to find me again, he reiterated, voice steady despite the lingering shadows. The shadows only have power if you let them. Will you face what you fear most? Nodding, I gripped my resolve tightly, as if it were a lifeline. I withdrew into my heart, vines of memories curling around me. Beyond all the fear was a glimmer of warmth, the flicker of bravery dwelling just below the surface. I will face everything, I vowed. For you. For you. As if hearing my pledge, the shadows shrieked, blurring with rage, and sent heightened pulses of panic racing through my veins. But I wasn't alone anymore. The light between Daniel and me began to weave together the spaces once filled with regret. I pressed forward, confronting the swirling chaos before me, taking Daniel's place alongside my own. The figure of darkness morphed into something monstrous, an embodiment of every painful choice, every mistake, every moment of silence that had propelled me away from my truest self. Yet instead of shrinking back, I held tight to Daniel's spirit as it radiated warmth against the choking tendrils of dread. "I see you," I shouted, pulling the remnants of my strength into one declaration that shone brighter than my uncertainty. "I will not let you control me anymore. You are just pieces of my past, but I am still here." The words echoed through the darkness, rippling through it as light began to shimmer around us. The dark figure recoiled, its jagged edges bleeding into a radiance that surged between us, flickering brighter with every truth I spoke. "I'm ready to embrace every mistake I've made," I continued, letting the warmth of hope shatter the suffocating shadows. "I'm done hiding." And suddenly in that moment I became acutely aware of something that had always been tucked deep within love. An unwavering love for Daniel, for the connection we had once shared, the bond that could survive even the shadowiest depths we had endured. "You will not take my truth from me," I declared, and I felt the shadows waver in response. The darkness thrummed against us, but the pulse of light defending our connection strengthened with every tethering heartbeat. "Together we can create a new path," I continued, the power of my voice rising above the chaos. "We are stronger than the shadows that have haunted us. I will fight not only for you, Daniel, but also for who I am, and who I want to become." With a final push, the held warmth ignited into a flash, expanding beyond the shadow with radiant brilliance, illuminating the truths we had buried beneath fears and forgotten choices. Daniel stepped closer, his features finally emerging clearly from behind the cyclone of shadows, the flicker of hope now radiant on his face. As our eyes met, I saw anew a flash of understanding, of dreams intertwined with reality, of shared burdens we could lift together. "I believe in you," Daniel whispered, voice trembling with emotion. "And in me." It was in that breathless moment the final semblance of darkness fractured and fell away, revealing an expanse of light that enveloped us. The shadows could no longer clutch us tightly, for we had faced them head-on, not as victims, but as victors reclaiming our narrative. And there in the heart of that expansive clarity, we recognized it for the first time. Love empowers, but so does the acceptance of one's self-declared imperfections. In the acceptance lies the true rebirth, a transformation from merely surviving to truly living. As the shadows faded completely, a peaceful brilliance illuminated our path forward. I turned to Daniel, our eyes locked, an unspoken promise blooming within the deep connection we forged. "Together we will rise," I said resolutely, feeling every flicker of hope reconnecting with the truth, and maybe, just maybe, I was no longer merely the invisible dishwasher. I was an architect of change, ready to embrace the beauty of vulnerability, the complexities of love, and the strength that comes from a shared journey. In that moment, I knew we would face whatever the future held, together or shadows behind us, and our hearts now unbound. And so began our new chapter, a tangible promise that in the embrace of truth, the shadows lose their hold. "Let us carry this light and rewrite our story," I murmured, the glow of renewal shining brighter than the fading darkness around us. Because in the end, love is the most powerful force of all, and together we were just beginning to understand its true depth.